welcome. This is Amanda the Nerdy Krafter, and I'm here today with our Make It Simple Monday for March. This is our March edition, which our theme for March is bunnies. And I've had this set again in my collection for a little bit, winter of 2023. I have used one of the bunnies before, but I have not used this one, so I'm so excited. All of these bunnies are super cute, and their expressions, their faces, like what you can do with them, just even the little chicks, those chicks. I'm like, can I do chicks? Can I get away with that for the Make It Simple Monday? Because this set is adorbs. So I'm pulling this out, and we are going to color this little set here. So I've got some flowers I can add in, some vines, and then our cute little bunny. So when I'm dealing with, these are our photopolymer stamps. So with those, I generally like to bring in my stamp positioner. The red rubber does have more give to it. So with those, I'm iffy on if I do my positioner. But know that watercolor paper has some texture to it. So there's a textured side and a smooth side. I'm going to put it on the texture side first because I'm going to do a stamp off with this. So I'm going to watercolor, use my Tombow pens to ink up my bunny here. And I'm going to do a two-step ink process, which is the 969 and the 565. So I have to decide, what elements I want what. My tree is what I consider living. So anything that is living, I generally will stamp with the blue first, stamp it off, and then put the brown on top of it. Anything that's like not living, so a wheelbarrow, something, a truck, a vehicle, a car, I would do the reverse with. Now with the bunnies are living, but do I want this is kind of like a gray bunny, or do I want a brown bunny? So that's what I have to decide. I do really love this simple gray bunny, so I think I'm going to stick with this. So I'm going to do brown first and then blue second, and same with the pot. So I'm going to follow this image pretty closely. Sometimes I like to go out on my own and just go rogue, but for this instance I'm going to stay pretty close to this. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to ink up my tree, because that one's going to be brown second. And then I'm going to ink up the rest of my image in my 969 brown. So when you're inking up, remember to ink on the side of your pen. You never want to go in and pokey, stab. Now to get your image so that it can watercolor smoothly and easily, we always want to stamp off once, and I don't press very hard, but I want to get any of that kind of extra off of there. So again, I'm going to come in with my brown first, come down into the tree, because that's the final color that I want our tree to be. And then I go with the blue over the rest of it. So this is going to help my bunny be like a gray-based color, and my pot the same. So now, because these are photopolymer, I can go and stamp this image directly at this point. But sometimes I get heavy-handed with my inking, so I come over and I lightly tap. Like, I just want to make sure that I don't have any blobs of ink on my image. I put that down, and then I bring in a stamp press. Now, I'm not pressing down on this. I'm smoothly going. It's a very smooth glide back and forth, and I'm not adding a lot of pressure, because if you add pressure, it will bleed the lines out. So these very thin lines will then become one line. So I'm going to hold that up so you can see. So see how we have these really thin lines right here in the tree? If I press down, I'm going to expand those lines, and they're going to join together. So that's just a little tip when you're stamping and you're using a stamp press. You don't want to do CPR. You don't want to pump on your image. You want to glide over it. After a while of stamping, your hands, if you're arthritic, will have some issues with it. So that's why so many different people have created a stamp press of some kind. This one I received from Whimsical Wishes on Etsy. I have a number of their amazing supplies in my collection. So if you're looking for some 3D printed elements, like even here's a little cube holder for my ink cubes with a little holder for my blending brush. So if you're looking for some unique 3D printed items, go check them out on Etsy. I'll put their information in the description box below. But let's bring in all of our goodies here. Which brush do I want to use today? Let's use this one. I do have a number of different brushes in my collection. Some of them I received from Art Impressions. Some of them I've gotten rounded about from shows that I've gone to. I'm experimenting with, artist grade versus non-artist grade. And honestly, they are absolutely amazing and beautiful. I love the ones Art Impressions put out. This one is a Princeton Velvet Touch one. I honestly don't know where I received this one from, so we're just going to play with it today. So, because our tree is going to be primarily brown, we do 2 strips of brown to make the combination color in case I want to add more in. And for the gray, I do 2 strips of blue and a half strip. So I'm building both those there. So I have them ready whenever I'm ready for that. So I'm going to add just a little water, blend this all together. So this is brown with a little bit of blue mixed in. I'm going to tap as much of that off as I can because I really don't want a lot on my brush when I come to pull these lines out from. So I'm just going to tap a little bit in. Back here is going to be super dark. Just going around the artist drawn lines right now and kind of just tapping in some color. I'm going to pinch a little bit of that color off because I really don't need a lot now. And I'm just going to use some water now. I want to blend these lines in. So you can see I'm getting more gray up in here because of the gray for the bunny, which is fine. I will bring in a little more of the brown for it. And I don't mind a little bit of gray. I like, the tree to look a little aged. So with these artist drawn lines, I'm coming on either side of my lines and I'm leaving a little bit of that white in the middle. When we're talking about light sources, usually it's where the light comes in. So the light from the bunny's coming in from here. And let me grab, I have a little grid here that I use also. So this is, imagine this here is your light. So your light's coming in where your face is at. So where the line hits first, right here is going to be the lightest. So anything that's on this side is going to be lighter. Where the arrow comes out is going to be darker. So this side of your bunny is going to be darker. This side of your tree is going to be darker. Hidden behind here is going to be darker. The pot, there's going to be some darkness here because there's a shadow from the bunny and from the tree. So, and it's a pot, so we want to put darkness on the sides. So I want to really darken in this area and darken in this area and leave my white right in the center to make it look dimensional, but definitely add more dark here because not only am I dealing with the light, but our bunny and our tree are covering it up. So just a little trick of the trade there, just a little tool to help us visualize. Not all of us can visualize, and I am one of those people. I had a really, really hard time visualizing the light source when I first started. And I'm telling you it so you know, but that doesn't mean that I always follow it. Because, you know what? I'm not doing this as a teaching element and as, I want this to be perfect to go on a piece of wall art. I'm doing this to add to a card, to bring joy and love to somebody. So when I color from a different spot. So I don't mind if my light sources aren't perfect. I don't mind if I color outside the lines because, one, it's watercolor, and watercolor tells us color outside the lines, be free, have fun. Those are the rules of watercolor, and that is absolutely 100% what I try to follow. So I'm flicking in the color from either side like we just talked about, giving that round highlight in the middle. So if you take like a metal cup and you sit it in a room with the light coming down on it, you will see that there's a light beam right in the middle of your metal cup, and then the outsides are very dark. So now I'm coming with a clean brush, and I'm going to push the color back. So I'm pulling a little bit of it out just by the nature of what I'm doing, but I want my darkest to be right at that outside edge. So this helps blend the colors together, even out that line or those flickings that I added in. And then I'm not twisting my arm. I'm not getting my wrist all discombobulated. I'm going to shift my paper around to make it easier. Sometimes you're going to be a pull is easier for you. Sometimes a push is easier. So you move the paper to work for you. And every day is going to be different. Look at that dimension. Look at the texture. Look at the different colors that are popping in there. Move the light so you can see a little bit better. There we go. Aren't those colors really amazing? I love when you add water to these images because it really just adds dimension to it. This is where things start to pop, where it goes from a flat image to something really cool. So now we've talked about this in the past. Nothing in nature is all white. Even my glass mat that you're seeing here, there are shadows in it. So there's darkness and lightness and different shades of white in it because it's not a flat white. Even my lid here, there's shadows where the rim is at. So nothing is 100% white with nothing else in it. So that's why when we have a snowman or, quote, a white bunny, we still have shadows. There are still areas that there's going to be highlights on your bunny, shadows where the arm's covering over the leg here, where the hips over the leg here, the backside of the arm. So there are going to be some shadows. So we're going to pull out from the lines. Again, the back of the bunny is going to be darker than the front because of where the sun's at. I may pick up just a little bit of gray from my palette to darken in those back areas. The tail and the rump area where he's sitting. The underside of the ear where it touches the face. The little neck area is going to be a little darker. I do like to pull out just a little bit from the line. So you're seeing even in the front where it's the lightest, I'm still pulling out a little bit of color from the lines because it just gives it some dimension. Clean up that brush and now come back in and push those colors back. Blend them down just a little bit more. And these colors will settle a little bit. So when this image sits overnight, by tomorrow or within an hour or so, the colors are going to settle just a little bit more. So it's okay if they're a little bit darker. You can always come in later, add in some more water, and blend them down a little bit more if you need to. But blend these down and then I'll come back in with a little bit more darkness. Okay, I want just a little more darkness at the back side of his arm here. Definitely down towards the belly area and this back foot. So go slowly, relax, but at the same point, don't over concentrate. Don't overthink it. So it's like slow and fast at the same time. I know it's so counterintuitive, but if you don't think about it, the faster you go, the better your work's going to come out. Okay? So don't overthink it. I'm actually going to pull in my Bible journaling set. This is the 5418 Bible journaling folio set 2. I love this. These vines in here and the Kendra dots. I don't pull this out and use it as often as I should, so I'm going to pull that out. And then I'm pulling in the grass from the Bible journaling 5073. I think this is a beautiful, complete set. So if you're starting out, this is a set I recommend for everybody to get. So I do have like a little travel bag that I keep some of my favorite stamps in, and I use them all the time. So it's in a little plastic bag here because I keep it in a carrying case. I need to transfer it into one of these sleeves here, but you know, best laid plans of mice and men. So one of the things with my grass, there is a top of the grass and the bottom of the grass. And what I've done for all of my teaching kits is I go in with a Sharpie marker or a black marker and I mark the bottom of that stamp. So I know where the bottom is. I've used these stamps so much that I can see it. But there are days when I don't have my glasses on or my contacts and it does get a little more difficult. So I do take that time. Once I figure out, you may need to stamp it first to see it. But that. So when I ink up my stamp, I did it really quick. I apologize. So 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 swipes of it. I always keep the block down on my table because that's going to give me the best pressure. If I'm trying to hold it up here, you're not going to get the same level of pressure with your brush, with your pen, as you would if you're on the table itself. You're going to stamp in a rotation of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm traveling with it. Then I'm going to ink it up again. 3, 4, maybe 5 times I'm swiping it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm traveling from here to here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. I want a couple more over here. So just for looks, I want it a little over there. So I'm going to pull in my 249, and I'm just inking up a portion of my stamp, and it's the front portion there. So I'm just going to come in and 1, 2, 3. Maybe add a little darkness in there. I can add just a little bit here and there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and watercolor that. Now, when I watercolor my grass, I saw Kendra do this a long time ago. First, you're going to flatten out your brush. So when I pinch it, it comes so it's like at a tip and flat. And then she did a swipe. Make the grass as long as you can. Exaggerate it. I really love that. I love the fact that she just swiped it up 3, 4, 5. Maybe go 1 or 2 the opposite direction. That's it. Okay. 1, 2. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So you can see that grass is now really high on there, really tall up in there. Then what I do is I bring in a little bit more water and I just squiggle underneath it. Give the grass something to sit on. It's not out in outer space. It's not floating out there. I'm going to darken in, back in my little hole there. And I'm just pulling out some of the grass from the bottom. I can then grab a little bit of the brown or even the gray, because there's shadows, and give it a little bit of ground to sit on. And I just do a zigzag back and forth. I'm getting a little bit of dry there. My brown wasn't moving, so grab a little more water when it stops moving. There we go. It's almost like a little tornado coming down. Perfect. All right. I do want to bring in some of these vines though, so let's look and see what vine options we have with the Bible journaling set 2. And as you can see, I don't use them very much. I don't pull these in as much as I should because I'm set in. I love the original vine, so I use that more than anything. So I think I'm going to use this one for height, and then this one for the sides. Perfect. And then these are the Bible journaling flowers. Let's do this one for height. And this is the daisy bunch. That one. All right, so I'm going to start with my flowers. Because if I don't put my flowers in first, then I tend to not leave enough room for them. But I'm not going to do a whole lot. I'm just going to put a few on here. So I'm just doing a few over here on the side. And I use the Post-it note tape, and I always keep a little bit on my pack here. So I am going to Post-it note off my bunny. And then I'm going to Post-it note off, for now, my pot. So with the pot, I go right up to that line so I can see the line right above it. And I'm going to put in some flower clusters. And they're not going to be at the very bottom. They're going to kind of be standing out. I do like to work in odd numbers. And if I get where I don't see a lot of definition, I may come in and just pop in a little more definition. Okay. Then let's go ahead and do our stem here. So this one is going to have a long stem, and with our long stems, I don't generally do multiples. I generally do a 1 stamp, maybe 2. So the stem's are green and the flower's in 685. I'm going to bring those up high, maybe 2. See, you get very little color on that second one, which is fine. One little flower there. Just bring in this one now. Again, because I have a pen here, I can choose how much of that stem I want to use. There we go. All right. Same thing with my foliage here. I'm only going to use the tip of it. I'm going to pull off my Post-it note because I do want some of my vines to come down. It's okay if they go over the pot a little bit, but now I'm controlling it, so it wasn't the stems and everything going over. I'm now controlling what comes over and where it's at. And I might just do a teeny right back here behind the bunny. Okay, so let's start with that. I'm going to leave my Post-it note tape out in case I need to bring it back in. I'm going to start with my flowers, and I don't mind if I mix my colors with my purples and my pinks because I kind of like that they blend together. So I don't clean in between my flowers, but I do clean in between for my foliage, and I just tap in the foliage. Just darken it up a little bit, just bring a little bit of color to it. Okay, I decided not to go any higher with this one, which is fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring in my sky. So this is my 526, and I also use my 565, and it's just a little of that one. That's like, both of them are way more than I actually need. So this is the only time where I'm going to do a wet on wet technique. So my brush is wet. I'm not pinching it off. I pinched it off a little bit just to make sure it was clean and I wasn't contaminating and bringing other colors in. But this is just wet. So if you look, you can kind of see that shine of the wetness. I don't need to go edge to edge and corner to corner, because we just need a hint, a visual indication that there is sky here. Your eyes will draw the rest of it. Think of it like if you're fussy cutting out a stamp and you leave a little halo around. That's exactly what we're doing. We're just doing a little halo around. Getting a little dry here, so I want the sky to move freely. I want the colors to move. And when you add the wet on wet, that allows the colors to blend and flow and move like they would naturally. Just imagine clouds. If you imagine clouds at the bottom are going to be darker than they are at the top. So this 565 has beautiful blue and purple undertones to it. So I just tap a little bit of that in, clean my brush, and then I just blend it out so it's not such a harsh transition. Come down as low as I want. Just let those blend out. The last thing I want to do is grab my twin tone, and I want to darken in these little bunny eyes. It's amazing what just darkening in a couple little features here will do. Bring back in the little paws, darken up the little lines that are here. Bringing back in these twin tones, it just adds that next level of definition and pop to your images. I can even come into the tree, Add some shadows in, darken things up a little bit, add some little holes down at the bottom. These crevices and creases can add a little bit more to it. I can create new ones. The other thing is, before we had the Kendra dots, you could take your twin tone and just add in some elements. So this just gives some texture. Just dotting those in. I will grab the navy. Same thing with the pot. Just tap in some texture to it. And I'm going in the darker areas. I don't think I'm going to do any on the bunny today. I didn't put a stripe along my pot, but if I wanted to, I have the option to either bring in my twin tone or I can do the back side of any of my pens. So now remember, this is it's a rounded image. It's round. So if I want to do it, it's going to be like a very low profile rainbow or kind of like a C. So I'm not going to go straight across. I'm just going to go in a curvature. Perfect. If I want to thicken that up just a hair. So I can do this with my watercolor brush also. I could add this to my palette. But I kind of feel like the imperfections and the movement of it are good. So let's look at this side. So if I were to draw a straight line, look at the difference in how that looks versus a curved line. So one makes the pot look flat, the other gives a pot some dimension. So you can see the difference of how that rounds out that pot. It just adds that little bit of extra to it. All right, I feel like I have completed this. I am very happy. Remember, always sign your work. We have made it to Make It Simple Monday, March edition, week 2 with this beautiful little bunny. This one here was our week 1, which was our scrapbook.com exclusive if you have that in your collection. So pull out your sets, come watercolor along with us. I will make these into cards. These are right now ATC size cards. I'll come in with, I have some little paper, matting paper here that I can come in with and mat it either on a black background, a craft background. Sometimes I love black. I feel like it really just makes the images pop, so I can just mat that down a little bit there. So much fun. But thank you so much for joining. This is a set that we use. This is 5737 Bunny and Chick set, and that is my interpretation of this beautiful stamp set and image. Thank you. This is Amanda the Nerdy Crafter. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate. Come craft along, and we will see you soon. Bye.